Hi small group leaders, I want to tell you about something big we're planning for the middle of August, but we're going to need your help in order to make it work. It's our annual super series. 2 years ago our super series was Real Jesus, last year it was Gospel in Life. This year the super series is People Can Change. One of the biggest problems that Christians face, in fact all people face, is that we have a desire to change, but we often get stuck and we don't know how to change. So for 6 weeks, in Sundays and in small groups, we're discovering from the scriptures how people can change. Super series are different to ordinary series in a couple of ways. For one, we put a lot more time and advertising into it. We anticipate a lot more people to come to church than they normally do. We're inviting people to come along. But when it comes to small groups, we give each small group leader a DVD set with 6 talks to watch over those 6 weeks. It's a case of you get together, you eat a meal, you watch this DVD, and then you talk about it. So it's lots of fun leading a group in those times. And we try encourage people who aren't part of a small group, and there are hundreds and hundreds of them in our church alone across the congregations. We invite them, urge them, mobilize them to come along to small groups during that time. So that's a super series. The question is, where do you as a small group leader fit in? Well, in short, you help us to host more people in your group, but secondly, you help us to start whole new groups, so there's that much more space for people to be connected who at this stage aren't. So the challenge is for you to start a whole new group out of your group, and there's 4 ways or 4 steps in order to do this. The first thing is to identify a person or maybe 2 people who potentially could lead a group. Number 1, do they love God? They've made some basic progress in their faith. They're not a seasoned Christ follower, but they've made some progress. Number 2, they love people. They can relate to people warmly. They're not socially awkward people. Well, if you were to just ask such a person and say to them, hey, we'll give you some training, we'll organize that as a leadership team, and you were to put in their hands a DVD set, I bet you those people would be willing to do it. So first thing is identify 1 or 2 people in your group who actually could lead a group. The second thing you need to do is now approach that person, maybe grab some coffee with them and put the idea to them. Tell them about this opportunity there is for them to lead a group, and it really is an opportunity. Don't present it as a problem like, oh gosh, we need new groups and maybe you can help. Nobody is into solving problems. They're into opportunities. It's an opportunity to grow in God, to serve people, to serve the forward movement of our church, and tell them why you think they are suited. Tell them it's because they made progress in their faith, and it's because they're warm with people that you think they'd be perfect to do it. And then of course tell them how we're going to do what we can to set them up to succeed. We'll get them trained, and we'll also give them a DVD set, and there'll be a CLT leader looking after them, so they feel like you're not leading them into inevitable failure, but there's the possibility of them really doing something meaningful for God. Number 3 is to choose a date in the calendar when you could start a new group. I'd recommend the first 2 weeks of August. How perfect to start a new group, literally the week or 2 before the People Can Change series starts, where we anticipate an influx of people into groups. So how about setting that goal? The first 2 weeks of August is the perfect time to start a new group. It also gives you time to prepare this person as well as prepare your group for what's going to come. And number 4, choose one of 2 ways you could practically start this new group. So the one way you could start this new group is through small group multiplication. That's the method we normally use in Common Ground, where one group multiplies into 2 and half the people go this way, half the people go that way. Okay? There is another possibility which we're open to trying. Instead of small group multiplication, there's something called small group planting. Here we send the person or the couple out to start a group from scratch. Maybe we send 1 or 2 or 3 people with them. Here the advantage is that this group that sends them out hasn't been that badly affected by the multiplication, especially if you've had many multiplications. The other advantage is this small group of 1 or 2 or 3 people have the adventure of building something from scratch. So both work, and it would be a case of you deciding which one works best for you. So if I could just recap that. Number 1, identify a person or a couple, or maybe 1 or 2 people or couples who could lead a group. Number 2, ask them to consider leading a group, and ask them well. Number 3, put a date in the calendar when you could start this group. First 2 weeks in August, in my opinion, would be best. And number 4, choose 1 or 2 methods, either small group multiplication or small group planting. And of course, chat through all of this with your CLT leader. Their wisdom might be just what you need to make the best decisions. God be with you as we adventure together in this exciting super series and see many people change by the grace of God.